I was standing 10 feet away when Marcus Holloway's whole world shifted. I saw it happen in real time. Nia did not yell. She did not cry. She did not throw a drink in his face, even though part of me was waiting for it. She just leaned in close, looked him straight in the eyes, and said something in Spanish. Soft, slow, like she had all the time in the world. And that man, that billionaire who had walked into the St. Regis ballroom like he personally owned the city of Atlanta, that man who had just whispered something in my best friend's ear that made my stomach turn from across the room. He froze, not embarrassed, not confused. Something else, something older, something private. I did not understand what I witnessed that night until much later, but I am going to tell you everything. Welcome to our channel, where we bring you emotional stories that stay with you. If you are new here, hit subscribe and the notification bell so you never miss a story. And if you are returning, thank you. Your support means everything. Now stay until the end, drop a comment with your thoughts, and let us begin. Nia Reyes grew up in the Bronx on a street where the smell of food coming out of windows told you exactly what time it was. 7 in the morning meant her grandmother's kitchen. Mango on the stove, mashed plantains with sautéed onions, and a fried egg on the side. Celia Cruz or Juan Luis Guerra playing low on the radio, depending on her grandmother's mood. That was the whole world for a long time. Loud and warm, and full of people who meant it when they said they loved you. Her mother was Dominican. Her father's family had been in Georgia since before anyone could remember. So Nia grew up with 2 languages and 2 ways of being herself. She could walk into a boardroom and hold it without raising her voice. She could also sit at her grandmother's kitchen table and become a completely different and equally real version of herself in Spanish without even thinking about it. Both versions were her. That was the thing most people missed. By the time I met her, she had been running high-end corporate events in Atlanta for 6 years, and she was the best at it. Not because she was loud or aggressive, because she paid attention. She remembered that one executive's wife preferred sparkling water. She remembered which donor could not eat shellfish. She remembered names, and she remembered what mattered to people, and she made every room feel like it had been built specifically for whoever was standing in it. I had been her partner for 3 of those years. I knew her better than almost anyone. So when she called me and said she was taking the Holloway Foundation Gala contract, I asked her why. She had turned down bigger money before. She said the gala was raising funds for a scholarship program. Full rides for kids in Atlanta schools that did not have enough of anything. Kids like she used to be. She said she could not say no to that. Then she said she did not want to do it alone. I said yes before she finished asking. The event was at the St. Regis in Buckhead on a Thursday in early fall. One of those Atlanta nights where the heat finally lets go a little and the air feels like something is possible again. The ballroom was done in deep gold and ivory. Candles everywhere. A string quartet in the corner. Donors moving around in their best clothes, wearing the kind of smile people put on when they want to be seen doing something good. Nia and I had been there since noon. By the time guests arrived, she was in her emerald wrap dress, and I was in navy, and we had both shifted into the quiet, invisible version of ourselves a job, required once a room filled up. You learn that fast in this work. How to be present without being seen. How to fix a problem before anyone notices it exists. Marcus Holloway walked in at 7:15. I knew who he was before I saw him, because 3 board members turned toward the entrance at the exact same moment. I looked up. Tall, dark suit, no tie, close-cut hair, going gray at the temples. The kind of face that had something extra in it beyond just handsome. He moved through the room without hurrying, stopping to speak directly to people rather than past them. He was good at this. You could see it. He knew how to make each person feel like the most important one in the room. I did not expect him to end up at the bar at the same time as Nia. She was there to handle something. One of the bartenders was pouring champagne too fast, and she needed to correct it quietly before the first toast. She was standing at the end of the bar with her back half turned when Marcus came up 2 feet away. He looked at her. She did not notice him yet. He looked again. I watched from near the entrance as he decided to speak to her. His posture shifted just slightly. He turned toward her with a small, easy smile. "Are you here with the Caldwell Group?" he asked. "I don't think we've met." Nia turned, took him in. No visible reaction. No, I'm the lead coordinator for tonight. Nia Reyes. Something moved across his face. Recalibration. Marcus Holloway, he said. I know who you are, she said, and she gave him the professional smile. Warm. Means nothing personal. He laughed a little, like he had not expected that. They talked for a few minutes. I could not hear all of it, but I could read the rhythm. He was doing most of the leaning. She was steady, engaged but not eager, interested but not impressed. Some men in rooms like this could not handle that from a woman. It made them reach for something to level the ground. I got pulled away to fix a floor arrangement that was tilting near the stage. By the time I got back and found Nia with my eyes across the ballroom, Marcus was still beside her. Closer now, I watched him lean down, lips near her ear, saying something low. Nia went still. Then she turned toward him slowly, looked up at him, and said something in Spanish so quiet and unhurried it almost did not reach me. Marcus Holloway did not move for 3 full seconds. Then his face did something I had never seen a man's face do in that kind of room. It did not close. It opened, like something that had been shut a long time, just came loose. He looked at her like she had handed him something he forgot he had lost. I got to Nia 20 minutes later, after the first toast, after the foundation director's speech, after the room finally exhaled and stopped performing. She was in the corridor near the kitchen, checking something on her tablet. What did you say to him? I asked. She looked up. To who? Nia. She smiled, put her tablet down against her hip. Something my grandmother used to say. In Spanish. In Spanish. And what does it mean? She was quiet for a second. Then she said, You don't know me, but you will. I stared at her. And what did he say before that? What did he whisper? I was beautiful, but probably not his type. Said it like he was being honest with me. Like that was a kindness. My mouth opened. I know, she said. Nia, I know Camille. This man is worth $4 billion, and he whispered that in your ear. He did, she said, and she picked her tablet back up like the conversation was finished. But it was not finished. 3 days later, she called me at 8 in the morning, and the first thing out of her mouth was, He called the company. I sat straight up in bed. Who? Marcus Holloway. He called our main line. Asked for the lead coordinator from a foundation gala. He has a private dinner in 6 weeks, and he wants to hire us. I did not say anything right away. It is a real job, she said. His assistant sent a full brief. 40 guests. Private residence in Buckhead. He wants an Afro-Caribbean cultural theme for the evening. Still, I said nothing. Camille. He requested an Afro-Caribbean theme. I said, Yes. After meeting you, it is a legitimate request. Nia, I am taking a meeting, she said. The meeting was at his office downtown. The kind of building where the elevator opens straight into the suite, and someone offers you water before you have fully stepped off. Nia brought me professional support, she said. I said, of course. Marcus was already in the conference room. No assistant, no lawyer, just him at the head of a long table with 2 bottles of sparkling water already on our side, like he had thought about that ahead of arriving. He stood when we walked in. Ms. Reyes, he said. Mr. Holloway, she said. Same warm professional voice. Not a single crack in it. They shook hands. His eyes stayed on her face just a half second longer than the handshake needed. We sat. He walked us through the event. Guest list, vision, timeline. He had clearly thought about every detail carefully. Then about 15 minutes in, during a pause while Nia was writing something down, he said without looking up from the table, I owe you an apology. Nia's pen stopped. What I said at the gala, he said. It was out of place. The room held still for a moment. You thought you were being honest. Nia said. I thought I was being smooth, he said. Which is worse. I watched something in her posture ease. Just slightly. Like something that had been braced. Let go a little. Apology accepted, she said. And she went back to her notes. But I saw his face when she said it. That same opening from the gala. like a window in a room that nobody had unlocked in a long time. I excused myself about 10 minutes later, said I needed the restroom, took my time getting back. When I got close to the conference room, I could hear their voices through the door that had drifted partially open. Nia was talking about her grandmother's kitchen, the smell of habichuelas guisadas on a Sunday morning, the way her grandmother kept the radio going while she cooked and sang without knowing she was singing. Her voice had changed. It was rounder, warmer, the version of herself she used with people she had decided to trust. Marcus was not saying much. He was just listening, both forearms on the table, leaning forward, like whatever she was saying was the only thing happening in the building. I pushed the door open, and they both looked up. Nia smiled at me. Marcus leaned back in his chair and picked up his water and looked at the table for a moment. "We should get you everything you need for proposal," he said. But his voice was quieter than it had been when we arrived, like something in the room had been adjusted while I was gone. We left 20 minutes after that. In the elevator, going down, Nia stared at the doors. "Don't," she said. I have not said a single word. I said, "Camille." Complete silence for me. She looked at the doors the rest of the way down. But when we stepped outside into the Atlanta afternoon, she stopped on the sidewalk and tilted her face up toward the sky for just a moment, eyes closed, like she was checking something inside herself that she did not have language for yet. Then she took a breath and started walking. And I followed her because that is what I've always done. If you are feeling this story, hype it so others can find it. Comment where you are watching from. Now back to the story. The private dinner was 6 weeks later on a Saturday in late fall. Nia and I had been in and out of Marcus's Buckhead residence 3 times during the weeks leading up to it. The house did not show off. Clean lines, tall windows looking out into trees, a kitchen that had clearly been cooked in, books on every surface that looked red and not decorative. The first time we did a site visit, I watched Nia stop in the main hallway in front of a framed photograph on the shelf. A woman around 70 years old, silver hair, dark skin, laughing at something off camera like whatever was had caught her completely off guard. "Who is that?" Nia asked the house manager. "Mr. Holloway's grandmother," the man said. "She raised him. He grew up with her in Miami." Nia looked at that photograph longer than she needed to. Then she kept walking. She did not say anything to me about it, but I kept it. The evening of the dinner, everything came together the way good work does when you have cared about every detail. The food was right. The music was right. The room felt intentional and warm, and the 40 guests moved through it at ease. By 9 o'clock, the thing had found its own rhythm and did not need us pushing anymore. Marcus found Nia near the garden doors around 9:30. I was close enough to see, but far enough to give them the space they clearly needed. He was holding 2 glasses of wine. He held one toward her. "You should have a glass," he said. "The work is done." She looked around the room. It was beautiful. Even she could not argue with that. She took the glass. They stood together at the garden doors for a moment without saying anything. The lights were strung through the trees outside. Music drifted from inside. Atlanta, quiet beyond the yard. "Can I ask you something?" he said. "You can ask," she said. "That night at the gala, what you said to me in Spanish." He paused. "Where did that come from?" Nia turned to look at him. "My grandmother," she said. "She said it to men who underestimated her. She said it like a promise, not a threat." He nodded slowly, looked at his glass. Then he said, "My grandmother used to say something almost exactly like that." Nia went still. "In Spanish," he said. She looked at him. "She raised me in Little Havana," he said. Her neighbors were Dominican, Cuban, Puerto Rican. She learned Spanish from them over 40 years, and she used it like she was born speaking it. He was quiet for a moment. "She passed 3 years ago." The garden outside was still. "I understood every word you said that night," he said. "I just did not know how to tell you that without it sounding like something it was not." Nia looked at him for a long time. I have known her face for years. I know what it looks like when something lands in a place she was not expecting, when life surprises her in a direction she did not see coming. and she does not know yet whether to reach for it or step back. "Why didn't you say anything?" she asked. "Because what you said stopped me," he said, "and I needed to figure out why." He paused. "It took longer than I expected." 6 weeks, she said. 6 weeks, he said. She looked down at her glass. The corner of her mouth moved. "You built an entire event to get another meeting with me," she said. "I hired your company for a legitimate professional dinner," he said. She looked up at him. He looked back at her. "It was not entirely legitimate," he said. She laughed. "The real one. The one that starts low and catches people off guard. I had heard it 1,000 times, and it still did something to her room." He smiled, like he had been waiting for exactly that sound without knowing it. They talked for a long time after that. The guests filtered out slowly. The staff cleared quietly around them. At some point, it was just the two of them in the garden doorway with the lights and the trees, and whatever was happening between them happening without anyone watching. I was the last one out of the house that night besides Nia. I waited in the car, gave her time. She came out 40 minutes after everyone else. She got in the passenger seat, set her bag in her lap, looked straight ahead through the windshield at the dark, quiet street. "He wants to take me to dinner," she said. "Not an event, not a meeting, just dinner." "What did you say?" "I said I needed to think about it." "Nia, I said I needed to think about it, Camille." "And what are you thinking?" She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "I am thinking that I said something that came from my grandmother, and it landed in him because of his grandmother. Two women who never met each other. Two different kitchens in two different cities, saying the same thing." She paused. "I don't know what to do with that." I looked at her for a long moment. "I think you go to dinner," I said. She turned back to the windshield. Quiet. Then, "Yeah," she said, soft, like she had been thinking it the whole time and just needed to hear out loud. "I think I do too." I started the car. 6 months later, I was Nia's date to a foundation benefit on a midtown rooftop. The Atlanta skyline behind everything. Early evening light, turning the city orange and gold. Marcus found us at the bar. He greeted me by name and asked about a work project I had mentioned once in passing months earlier. He had been paying attention. Then he put his hand at the small of Nia's back, and she leaned into it the way you lean into something your body has decided it trusts even before your mind finishes the conversation. She said something to him in Spanish. Low, just for him. He answered her back in Spanish, easy and unhurried, like a language he had carried quietly for years and finally had somewhere to put it again. I thought about two grandmothers who never met. One in the Bronx with plantains on the stove and Celia Cruz on the radio. One in Miami with neighbors who gave her their language and she kept it like it was precious. Both of them saying the same thing to men who did not know what they were standing in front of. "You don't know me, but you will." I raised my glass. Some things find each other the way they are supposed to, even when they take the long way around. What would you rate the story? Drop 0 to 10 in the comments right now. If this story moved you, hit subscribe for more emotional journeys every day. And if it truly touched your heart, consider leaving a super thanks. Your support helps us create more stories like this. Every contribution, big or small, means the world. Ready for the next story? It is even more dramatic than this one. Click now. Thank you for being part of this journey.